We have breaking news. COVID is back, and this time it's an elite covert agent from feudal Japan. Yeah, look at that. This new ninja COVID variant is the most dangerous one yet. Just how dangerous is it? Well, take a look at this shocking headline from Mr. Murdoch's New York Post. Quote, new COVID subvariant could make you sweat at night. Oh my God, has anyone told Jeremy Vine? Last we'd heard, he'd been totaled by a slight tickle in the back of his throat.
Sore throat, headache, cough, aches and pains, and a Joy Division t-shirt. So I'm in bed with COVID.
And he was doing the full pillow munching with just a slight stage croak, like a panto villain doing his death scene. Imagine what that pillow's in for if a bead of perspiration breaks out on his very unstiff upper lip. The good news is in Her Majesty's dominions we already have the antidote to the sweaty cron subvariant. Welcome back, Prince Andrew.
I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time.
He picked it up from a penguin while liberating South Georgia during the Falklands War. But he can now save the nation and the Commonwealth by teaming up with AstraZeneca to inject a little AndrewZeneca in all of us. Either that or every other member of the royal family is going to drown in their own sweat, and only Prince Andrew will be left to succeed as king. You know, I'm beginning to sweat at night. It's nothing to do with the COVID. I'm pretty relaxed about that. I cower before no subvariant, but I'm concerned that the insanity of the last 2 years is becoming permanent and more intense. As you know, Klaus Schwab, the sinister Teutonic megalomaniac, hiding in plain sight as a sinister Teutonic megalomaniac, runs the World Economic Forum from his hollowed-out Swiss Alp overlooking the Jungfrau. He's a close chum of the Prince of Wales and the twin brother of Ming the Merciless. That's, let's see, that's Ming on the left and Klaus Schwab on the right. Herr Schwab was last heard of on this show a couple of weeks back, giving his keynote address to the annual board meeting of Spectre.
Let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room.
The future is made by us. Oh, that's lovely, Klaus, sweetie, but could you just make sure you wave your fist a bit more butchly as you say it? Unfortunately, Schwab the Merciless and his chums are having a bit more difficulty making the future than they expected. You, yes, you at the back, Mrs. Mabel Scroggins of 27B Acacia Gardens, you're not signing up for your 7th booster shot with quite the gusto they expect. So Klaus has had to make a special pitch to the youth, user millennials and Generation Z.
So, what should you do? Use the millennials and the Generation Z. What should you do differently? Most immediately, you are calling for the international community to safeguard vaccine equity, to respond to COVID-19 and prevent future health crises. Nobody will be safe if not everybody is vaccinated.
Aha! Nobody will be safe if not everybody is vaccinated. COVID stand now and forever. One thing all the obsessions of our ruling class have in common is that the costs of their virtue signalling are borne by you. Finding petrol a little pricey? Well, buy an electric car. Oh, finding electricity a little pricey. Well, you don't really need a car, do you? Just stay at home. You can sit in the garden and watch Jacinda Ardern, John Kerry, Bill Gates and What's the name of that other big Oh, yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio. You can just watch their jets zipping through the skies far above you en route to COP27 in Tahiti. Are there signs of a pushback? Are the revolting masses sick of the ludicrous obsessions of their betters? In the Netherlands, Dutch farmers are making like Canadian truckers and shutting down the borders. Eva Vlaardingenbroek will be here a little later on that. And beautiful Sri Lanka, where the elite made the mistake of actually doing all the rubbish Boris and Justin and Jacinda mostly just talk about. Our Commonwealth cousins have risen up and set alight the Prime Minister's residence at Temple Trees. If you're an old colonial hand from Ceylon days, you'll know Temple Trees and you'll be shocked at what's happening there. The Prime Minister has fled. He's hiding in his mummy's basement, whining that this never happens to Justin Trudeau. This is the same Prime Minister, by the way, Ranil Wickremesinghe, who just a couple of years back was the toast of Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum. Look at this headline from 2018. Sri Lanka PM. This is how I will make my country rich by 2025, by setting alight my official residence and selling what's left for kindling. Will it come to that here? Well, over the weekend, this table appeared on the internet showing the positions of the various conservative, actually make that quote-unquote conservative leadership candidates on key issues. Take a look at this. HS2 is the high-speed train that goes at 200 miles an hour. So if you're in London and you're suddenly overcome by a desperate need to see Birmingham in half an hour, you'll be able to do it, and without your luggage, joining the 87,000 bags piled up in sub-basement level F17 of car park N54 at Heathrow for a fortnight. Of course, the problem is that whether you're zipping from London to Birmingham or vice versa, you'll still disembark in a moribund, high-tax, net-zero wasteland, at neither end of which you can see a doctor except by Zoom call. Look at these so-called critical issues on this table put up on the internet. There's no mention of immigration, for example, and the great tide of humanity washing up on England's shores. I would call this my absolute bare minimum for a Tory leader, a Brexiteer who's opposed to net zero and vaccine passports. Can you find one in all these options? Mrs. Badenoch's a Brexiteer, but she's hot for net zero. Mrs. Braverman's opposed to net zero, but she digs the vaccine passports. That Tuganon bloke's against the vaccine passports, but he's a Remainer with the net zero fever. Sajid Hunt and Jeremy Javid are net zero Remainers with vaccine passports a go-go. So put your money on one of them.